We are live. Hey, how are you doing? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, October the 4th. And I want to welcome you to today's chat. And this is a special day for me. It is my birthday. Getting older, the oldest I've ever been. But even though it is my birthday, life goes on, work goes on, and the show must go on. So hopefully you can join in today and we can have ourselves a good Q&A related to fitness and nutrition and health and wellness and any specific topics that you guys would like to discuss. So as you're popping onto our live stream here today, please let me know if this is coming through loud and clear. If it is, just type in loud and clear into the comment section there. Again, I think it is. It seems to be coming through loud and clear on my end, but I just want to make sure that it is coming through loud and clear on your end as well. Good stuff. All right, lots of people popping on here now. Just give ourselves a moment. We have J.E., happy birthday, thank you. We have William, thank you. Zulio, and we have Conscious Aether. Who else we have? J.E., loud and clear. Good stuff. Loud and clear. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Much appreciated. So this has been a very busy and productive week within the whole Total Fitness bodybuilding community because we just finished up another Lose Your Gut Challenge group. And I know several of you may have participated within our group. It took place within the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook community. And over the course of the week, we really did a deep dive into the fundamentals of sustainable fat loss nutrition, right? Really breaking it down day by day. We did live video coaching lessons and had accountability tasks throughout the week, breaking down the fundamentals of how to lay out a sustainable fat loss nutrition plan. Because again, this is the area that most people struggle with. And then last night we had our graduation workshop where we mapped out a full 3-phase system on how you can lose the gut, keep it off, and enjoy the process. So that's something that we were doing all week over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group, and it's a lot of fun. A very productive week. A lot of people were taking action and some good feedback from it as well. So I'm excited to see who our next series of Lose Your Gut Challenge success stories are going to be, right? Because I know every time I run these challenges, a certain percentage of people take it serious, they implement what they learn, and they take it to the next level, and they're going to become the next series of before and after success stories. And again, I don't know who that's going to be, but I'm looking forward to seeing it because every time I run these challenges, we always see some life-changing transformations come from about it. All right, so for those of you who are tuning in, if you're regulars to the show, you know how this works. But if you're brand new, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people tuning in. And just a quick recap of how these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and fitness, any specific challenges with fat loss, with building muscle, nutrition, supplementation, training, any of those types of questions that you would like to discuss, questions or topics of discussion, feel free to post those into the comment section there. So if you're on YouTube, you will see the chat window that's next to the video. You can type your questions and comments into the live chat. And if you're watching through Facebook, then you can type in your questions and comments and whatever in the comment section down below. All right, so we're streaming simultaneously from YouTube as well as Facebook. I know most people do tune in through YouTube, which is normal, but I like to share it through my Facebook feed as well because we do get some people joining through there as well. All right, so let's see. Any questions coming through? Who's going to have the first question of the day coming through here now? All right, so let's see who else we have. We have Eagle Eye John joining in. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Much appreciated, my friends. We have Scott joining in. Or sorry, my bad. Segsy? I guess that's how I pronounce your name. I'm not sure, but welcome. Hello to you, my friend. Glad to have you joining in as well. Awesome. So one thing that I want to discuss, though, that was very apparent as we were going through the Lose Your Gut Challenge is the whole topic of nutrition this is something that I see a lot of confusion and some gray areas there. And I actually, in this week's Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast, if you haven't checked that out, that was posted up earlier this week. And I went into detail covering the top 10 Healthy foods that are fattening. And this is where I see a lot of people making mistakes with their nutrition because they're saying, like, I'm eating healthy, but I can't lose weight. I'm eating healthy, but I still got belly fat. I'm still, where's the abs? Where's the muscle definition, even though I'm eating healthy? And in that podcast, I really broke down the top 10 foods that people are eating, thinking that they're doing themselves a favor because they're quote unquote healthy, but these foods are actually sabotaging your fat loss efforts. And as we were going through the Lose Your Gut Challenge over the past week, and people were sharing some of the meals that they've been preparing and sharing some of the favorite foods that they like to incorporate, even though they thought that they were good choices, there was a lot of times I've seen people saying, sharing stuff that, like, that explains why you're struggling to lose your gut right there. Right? Like, if this is a staple in your eating plan and you think you're on the right track by eating this on a regular basis, that's what's hindering your progress. So if you haven't already done so, I highly recommend you check that out. You can head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. It's posted there. And I also have links down in the description below this video where you can listen to the audio over on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and all the major podcast platforms. So you can download the audio, or of course you can watch the video on YouTube. And I know most people, even though it is a podcast, most people like to watch it. And I got to be honest, when I'm watching podcasts or tuning into podcasts, more often than not, I do like to watch them on YouTube. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I may like have my earbuds in and be listening to a podcast at the gym or something like that. But it's nice to be able to refer to the video, especially if they have some charts or graphics or something that they're referring to that you can see. And I find it's just a bit more interactive that way. So, I mean, we're here on YouTube now, so I know a lot of people probably prefer YouTube. But if you do enjoy listening to your podcasts, Spotify or iTunes or whatever your platform of choice is, it's available there as well. But I highly recommend you check that one out because that one was a good one. Got a lot of positive feedback about that podcast and a lot of meaty nuggets in there that you can take away and actually implement into your whole routine to maximize fat loss. And it will probably answer some questions of why you're probably struggling with losing the gut, even though you're quote unquote eating healthy. All right, so let's jump in here. We got Jeffrey's joining in. Thank you, Jeffrey. Much appreciated. And he's got a question there about smoothies. Are all smoothies bad for you? I mean, I think you already know the answer to that. Of course, no, they're not all bad for you. It depends on what goes into the smoothie. Like, that's a very broad category, smoothie. Like, that could be, hey, we're throwing in ice cream and frozen berries or frozen whatever and just blend it up, and it's basically just a glorified sugar treat. Or it could be a protein smoothie, it could be a vegetable smoothie. I mean, there could be, who knows, like there's ways to make smoothies healthy, and of course there's ways to make them not healthy. It all depends on what you put in them. For me personally, I mean, I love making blender smoothies, and what I usually do is try and make them a protein base. So you can probably use like fat-free yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt as a base. Sometimes I'll even use pasteurized liquid egg whites as the base. Add in some protein powder, mix in some frozen berries, probably mix in some spinach with that. If you want to add in some fruit like apple or banana or melon or something, I mean, you can do that as well. But you can mix in a lot of good things in with a smoothie and make it whatever you want. Like, if you want a low-calorie smoothie, you can mix it with low-calorie options and have a nice, satisfying, delicious treat that is going to help keep your calories in check and aid with fat burning. You can also make it a mass building / weight gain smoothie if you want to do that. Like, you can put in some more high-calorie options. I know, like, a lot of guys probably even putting like peanut butter and oatmeal and some more high-calorie options along with their protein to make a high calorie, high protein smoothie that's geared towards putting you in a calorie surplus to aid with muscle building. So you can mix and match your smoothies depending on what it is you want to achieve. So it's not that they're good, bad, right, or wrong. It's what are you planning on putting in them, and what's your ideal goals. And this will vary from person to person. Like, if I'm talking to a a skinny 20-something-year-old who wants to pack on some meat to his frame and, bulk up, that's going to be a totally different smoothie than if I'm talking to a 50-year-old office worker who's got a belly that sticks out further than his chest and he wants to trim down, right, and lower his blood pressure and lower his cholesterol and blood sugar in the process. Two totally different scenarios need two totally different dietary approaches. And in this case, they would be drinking two totally different smoothie options. So again, it's not good or bad. It depends on what you put in them. And the good thing about nowadays, I mean, like you can go on, if you want to get ideas, like on YouTube, there's gazillions of recipes. Now, I'm not saying that they're all good, but you can use them as ideas, right? I mean, even if you check out my channel, I made up some blender drinks and blender smoothies as well. I have several options there that I show that I make, but there's so many of them. I mean, there's literally thousands of smoothie recipes on YouTube, right, that you can refer to. Some good, some not so good, right? You have to use your own discretion on that one. Who else we got joining? What other questions we have here? Julio saying, is my name. Does progressive overload mean muscle growth? Does neurological adaptation play a role? Good night. It's late. All right. Julio or Julio? I'm not sure. Which you pronounce. Is that a J with a J or is it a J with a H? Julio, Julio. I don't know. But anyway, does progressive overload mean muscle growth? Generally speaking, yes. All right. I mean, there's a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, and vice versa. Now, there are exceptions to the rule where sometimes you can increase strength without gaining a lot of size, or sometimes you can gain size without increasing a lot of strength. But generally speaking, if you're training and you're working out consistently, you're getting stronger in the gym, that's going to lead to bigger muscles. And just look around. Like you look at the guys in the gym who are the biggest and the most muscular guys, there's a high likelihood that they're also the strongest guys. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about general strength, because that can be a bit blurry if you're looking into specific strength sports. Like if we get into weightlifting or powerlifting or specific strength related sports or arm wrestling, for example, or something that's a bit more, specialized, sometimes there can be, unique specimens. Like you might have somebody who's an amazing weightlifter, and they're not all that big, but they've mastered the technique and they have the explosiveness and the tendon and ligament strength, so they can handle weight like in the snatch and the clean and jerk and these overhead lifts that maybe a 300-pound bodybuilder couldn't even do. But then you flip the tables around and probably doing some more bodybuilding style exercises. Obviously, the bodybuilder would probably be way stronger than the weightlifter in those situations. So you're going to see some gray area there where people are going to be stronger in the areas that they specialize in. But generally speaking, the bigger someone is, the more muscle someone has, the stronger they are as well. And of course, that's achieved through progressive overload. So building the muscle stronger is going to lead to it getting bigger. And does the neurological adaptation play a role? I mean, you can certainly get into the whole nitty-gritty science of this if you want to, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all adaptations that are happening on the cellular level within your training. I mean, when you're stimulating the body and then providing adequate nourishment, fueling it and nourishing it on the cellular level, and then allowing adequate time for rest, recovery, and growth, and then just keep repeating that process, and you ingrain that, and you're building the body stronger over time. I mean, that's basically what's happening. That's how the process happens, right? It's a slow process. It's not something that's just, hey, I work out today and I'm bigger tomorrow. But over time, you will get that adaptation, and you will see your body start to respond. And of course, you'll get bigger and stronger. Now, generally, when it comes to seeing results, you will notice the strength gains before you notice the size gains. So to put things in perspective, like you'll see your bench press will go up before you add inches to your chest. Your bicep curls are going to get heavier before you add inches to your arms. Like you're going to see the strength gains before you see the size gains. That's generally how it happens. But again, rest assured that this is all going to lead to bigger muscle growth and more hypertrophy over time. A bigger muscle is a stronger muscle and vice versa. But it's not always linear, meaning like, just because you add you move up to the next set of dumbbells with your dumbbell curls. It doesn't mean like you're going to be able to see the tape measure stretch on your biceps, right? It's not always an instantaneous change. And then another thing we have to factor in as well is body composition, because you can gain lean muscle and lose body fat simultaneously. And that blurs the line even more, because the scale may not change much in terms of getting bigger. Even the tape measure may not change much, because if you add lean mass and then lose fat mass, you may be the same size physically, but now you've improved the body composition. So it's a better composition, meaning there's more lean mass on your frame, less body fat mass, but it could be the same weight and in some cases even the same circumference, right? So there's a lot of gray area. And that's why when you're tracking your progress, you need to have a big picture perspective and look at multiple areas, and not just getting hung up on like the scale weight or the tape measure or things like that. You need to look at the bigger picture and have a lot of different measuring and checkpoints that you can monitor to see, are you actually making progress in the direction you want to go, right? And this is something that I really focus on when I'm coaching people, is to help them have that bigger picture perspective. Because I know some guys, they just look at the scale, right? Whether I'm gaining weight or losing weight. And okay, that's one piece of information. That's one piece of feedback, but it doesn't tell you how much of that weight gain or weight loss is muscle or body fat. It doesn't tell you the details there. Same thing with the measurements, right? It doesn't tell you whether you're gaining or losing fat mass or lean mass. So you need to look at all these different elements and kind of make an educated guess based on a big variety, a big pool of data of your training and your results that you're getting. All right. Hopefully that answers the question. And good night to you, my friend. If you must be over in Europe if it's getting late. All right. Take care. What else? We have another question here from Conscious. More Arnold Schwarzenegger principles that you agree and disagree with. Arnold Schwarzenegger principles. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm a huge Arnold fan. I mean, I can't deny it. He had a big impact on me as a young man. Like, I mean, he was the first bodybuilder that I ever seen. Now, seen, of course, on television and stuff. I never seen him in person until I actually went to the Arnold Classic, and I got to see him. But he was well past his bodybuilding days, when I was seeing him in person. But back in the day, back in the Conan the Barbarian days and all that stuff, that's when I first was introduced to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And at the time, I mean, as a young kid who's just getting into physical culture and exercise, I mean, seeing a man with muscles was like, holy crap, like, this is cool. I want to be like that. So obviously he had a big impact on my motivation early on. But as far as training principles that I agree or disagree with, just how Arnold blows things out of proportion, right? Like he talks a really big game. Now, I'm sure some of it is based it's based on a true story, but I mean, hey, he's a movie star, he's a politician, he got the gift of gab. He exaggerates it. He makes it bigger than life. So sometimes you hear him talking about, hey, we were working out for 4 or 5 hours a day and lifting thousands of pounds and blah, 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 blah. Like, take all that crap with a grain of salt. Like, no doubt they trained hard. I mean, and pushed themselves. I mean, he became Mr. Olympia. So like, that's no easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. But you have to put things in perspective, right? Like, it's not as over the top as a lot of what he makes it out to be. I know I was listening to one of his speeches a while back, and right, he was talking about, I was working out like 4 or 5 hours a day, and plus I was working on real estate, and plus I was doing acting classes, and I was taking English classes, and I was doing this, and I was doing that, and the other. Like, he listed off all the stuff that he was doing, and I mean, if you had a 50-hour day, you wouldn't be able to squeeze it in, right? Like, no doubt he did all those things, but it's not like you did it all simultaneously, right? At different phases, you probably prioritize different things. But he kind of sometimes makes it seem like, do all this stuff. And, what was another one he said? He wasn't a big advocate of sleeping too much. He said, if you want to get more done, sleep faster. Like, how the frig do you sleep faster? Right. So all the hype and the rah-rah and piss and vinegar. That's one thing that I mean, I laugh at it because I can see through it, but some people would listen to that and take it literally, and you got to realize it for what it is. So that's the biggest thing that I guess I disagree with. But I mean, overall, I just like it. I mean, he's got a cool new documentary on Netflix. Well, it's relatively new, within the last year or so. If you haven't seen it already, it's just called Arnold. Go in on Netflix and search for Arnold. It's a 3-part documentary. One covers the bodybuilding phase, one covers the acting phase, and then one covers the political phase. You know, it's pretty cool how they break it down like that. So anybody who's an Arnold fan would certainly enjoy that, and I enjoyed it. But anyway, moving on. Let's get into some other Q&A here. What else we got there? J.E.'s asking, does a 90-degree angle for rows target upper back more than a 45-degree angle? It may. You know, you have to feel where it is. And one of the things, if you're doing a bent over row, the reason I'm a fan of using more of a 45-degree angle when you bend over, so you're not literally like back totally flat, is because that places a lot of stress on the lower back. If you truly want to do a flat back row, I would recommend doing some sort of chest supported row, like maybe a T-bar row with a chest pad, or even a machine row with a chest pad, where you can be rowing in that 90-degree position, you know, where you're rowing straight in, but you have your lower back supported. Because if you're doing heavy bent over barbell rows, for example, and your back is totally flat, there's a lot of stress on that lower back, and it's easy to get out of alignment and pull or strain it. Whereas if you're standing a bit more upright, you're engaging more of the hips and the glutes and the hamstrings to kind of keep your body in check, and your lower back is in a stronger position mechanically. And it's actually better for engaging the lower lats. So yeah, when your body is more upright in a 45-degree position versus a flat 90-degree position, you're going to see more lower lat engagement. And so if you want to work more upper back, I'd recommend doing a chest supported row instead, or other variations like face pulls or things like that, where you can really isolate the upper back. Right. So, I mean, you definitely want to do both. I mean, obviously you want to hit the lower lats, you want to hit the upper back, and all the different areas of the back. I mean, of all the muscle groups, the back is probably one of the most complex because it engages so much. Like if we were looking at the front of the body, we just don't say, I'm training the front, right? I'm training the chest. I'm training the abs. I'm training the delts. Like I'm training the obliques. I'm training all these different muscles that are on the front of the body, in addition to, biceps, triceps, and the arm muscles as well. But when you say back, a lot of people just lump it all together. But it's really more than just back, because it's traps, it's rear delts, it's lats, it's rhomboids, it's spinal erectors. It's all these different muscles that you want to train, and there's different exercises to target them all. So, depending on what it is that you want to prioritize, what it is you want to focus on, you can adjust your exercises accordingly. But I personally wouldn't recommend doing heavy bent over barbell rows with that flat back position, just from an injury point of view, because it's so easy to hurt yourself when you're in that vulnerable position. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, if you want to see some sample back workouts covering some of these different exercises, just head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, open up the playlist tab, and there's a whole section there with back workouts where I have all my different back workout videos from over the years posted. I mean, you can scroll through there and get some ideas. All right, we have TS joining in. He's doing upper, lower, doing squats on a full body workout. Was cooking me after squats, then upper body. All right. I don't know if there's a follow-up to that one or not. Let me see. I don't think so. So I'm doing upper, lower, doing squats on a full body was cooking me after squats, then upper body. I think I get what you're saying. You switched to doing upper, lower body split because you found that doing a full body workout was too much. And that makes sense. I mean, if you find that it's too challenging to try and squeeze it all into a single workout, you can certainly break it up. And I'm a big fan of total body workouts. right? I mean, I usually do total body workouts most of the time, but it doesn't mean I do the same exercises all the time. I mean, I can prioritize different movements. Like I'm not doing bench presses and squats and deadlifts like every single time I go to the gym. If I'm doing a total body workout, I may prioritize one or the other. Like maybe I'll do a total body workout and my big heavy exercise of that day might be squats. And then for all the other muscle groups, I might do some machine exercises or some isolation exercises or exercises that are still effective and still hitting all my major muscle groups, but are not as demanding as the big, heavy compound power lifts, right? Like it takes a lot out of you to do multiple big, heavy compound lifts, one right after the other. I mean, if anybody's ever competed in a powerlifting meet, you know how challenging that is, right? Where you squat, you bench, and you deadlift all back to back. I mean, a powerlifting meet is a hell of a workout in and of itself, right? You can't do that every single time you go to the gym, right? You have to space it out. So sometimes I might pick one major exercise that's going to be my big heavy move, and then I'm going to do some lighter or easier movements afterwards. Other times it might be all lighter, easier moves, depending on how I'm feeling. Like if I need like an active recovery day or a deload phase, it might be all easier exercises. And if I'm feeling full of piss and vinegar and I got energy to burn, I may choose, a few different heavy compound exercises and do them back to back. But you can vary this depending on how you're feeling. So if you're feeling cooked after doing squats, you can choose to do easier exercises afterwards, or maybe you're not going to do squats every single workout, right? You'll space it out and maybe only hit them once a week or less, right? Like you have flexibility within a total body template, right? That's one of the cool things about it. Like a lot of people have this idea, if I'm doing a total body workout, I have to do every exercise I know for every body part, all in that single session, and I got to go in there and annihilate, and stimulate every muscle. No, you don't have to kill yourself. Like you can adjust it and modify it, and you don't have to do every single exercise because it's a total body workout, right? There's so much room for variety and modification within that structure, right? It's not a set in stone type of thing. Let's see what else we got there. Lee, sir, 100%. Love this channel. No BS on here. Much appreciated, David. Glad you enjoy the channel. Akenbade, good to join your live stream. Glad to have you joining in. Welcome. I'm not sure if this is your first time joining in. I have to be honest, I can't recall seeing your name here before. So if this is your first time, welcome to the chat. Always nice to have new people joining in. David saying, what's the best dumbbell workout? Chest, back, or back, chest? Which is first? It really doesn't matter. It's what do you want to prioritize? And if you're doing them like that, like working agonist and antagonist muscles, I usually pair them back to back. So I would do like a chest exercise, then a back exercise, chest exercise, back exercise, or back exercise, chest exercise. Like I alternate them. I don't like go in there and do all my chest exercises and then all my back exercises. If I'm doing a workout like that, I will alternate them move for move. And by doing that in an alternate fashion, you actually will prolong your strength and energy, because as your chest is working, your back is resting. Vice versa. As your back is working, your chest is resting. And when you do that and you actually pump up both sides, it's actually complementary, because as you're pumping up the chest, you're actually helping to aid with the back workout. And as you're pumping up the back, it actually helps to aid with the chest workout. Same thing with like biceps and triceps. If I'm training those together, I usually alternate a bicep move and a tricep move and do them back to back. Same with quads and hamstrings. Like do a quadricep exercise, then a hamstring exercise, work them back to back. Whenever possible, it's nice to do that. And as far as which one you do first, from a practical point of view, it really doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you're consistent. But if you are really going to be nitpicky, just do an analysis of your physique and say, okay, what is my lagging body part? What is the weakest? If chest is the weakest, then maybe you want to prioritize chest. Do that first when you're strongest. If back, second, guys. I'll let that go to messenger voicemail. What was I talking about then? chest and back workouts, alternating them. Yeah, okay. If you have one that's stronger than the other or better developed than the other, then obviously you probably want to do your weaker one first, right? Like that's classic prioritization there. Like train your weakest body parts first when you're full of strength and energy and you're fresh so that you can hit them harder. And then your stronger body parts, save them for the end of the workout when you don't need to give them as much emphasis because they're already strong body parts. So you can prioritize your workouts that way. But ultimately, from a practical point of view, as long as you're hitting everything in balance and proportion, I mean, you're still going to make progress, right? So I don't stress out over it myself. I mean, like, for example, if I'm at the gym and maybe I do have a plan in mind that I'm going to follow, and when I get there, maybe that particular piece of equipment is being used. Like, I'm not going to freak out about it. I'll just do the next thing on my workout, and then I'll come back and do that after. Because, in the greater scheme of things, as long as you're good enough and you're good enough consistently, you're still going to make progress. Like, it don't have to be stressing out over, is it perfect? Am I doing everything in the right order? And, oh, if I change the order, or I work this muscle group first, or I do this exercise first, like, is that going to ruin my workout? Is that going to ruin my day? And are my gains going to be flushed down the toilet? Like, no, as long as you're training consistently, you can make it work. All right, we have Will joining in. Awesome. Glad to have you joining, Will. He actually went through the 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. He says, I'm a 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge graduate. So congratulations, my friend. He went through the program, and I'm glad to see you going through it. And again, kudos to you for participating on the group and taking this seriously, right? I mean, like, I respect that, right? You followed through, you kept up with the accountability tasks, and it's nice to see people taking this seriously, because this is the key. Like, when you look at the whole process of building muscle, training, nutrition, losing body fat, like all this, it's relatively simple, but it's not easy. Like, the action steps, like if you have a step-by-step action plan, like we covered within the Lose Your Gut Challenge, and you follow that, I mean, it's relatively simple, but it's not easy to do, because you have to deal with real life and real life situations, and overcoming your own laziness and procrastination and all this kind of stuff. And that's where a lot of people get hung up, right? It's like, I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it. Right? Prime example, I actually use this one in the Lose Your Gut Challenge. Like, think of someone who's a smoker and trying to quit, right? They know how to quit smoking, right? You just stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. Like, it's pretty darn simple. There's nothing complicated about it. Well, why is it so hard to do? Right? Same when it comes to your fitness and your nutrition. I mean, like, sure, the tactics may be simple, but it's hard to do. And that's why you need a system in place to actually take this and break it down into little tiny bite-sized chunks, and tackle those little bite-sized chunks one after the other, and build up some momentum, and do so in a step-by-step and progressive fashion where it doesn't feel overwhelming and it actually feels easy, right? That's the whole premise behind what we're going through here. It's not trying to overhaul your entire diet and lifestyle from day one and have you suffer it out and feel like, no pain, no gain. Like, yeah, that sounds cool and makes for a good Facebook meme or a t-shirt logo or something like that. But that's not how it works in the real world. Like, nobody wants to suffer for the rest of their life. Like, you don't want to wake up every day in pain. Like, it sounds cool and makes for a great Rocky movie, and stuff like that. It's rah, full of piss and vinegar. But in the real world, like, nobody wants to suffer day in, day out for the rest of their life, right? You want to enjoy the process. And that's what we cover. We really humanize this whole process to show you how you can go through it, achieve your fitness and fat loss goals, build the lean muscular physique you want, and enjoy the process without feeling like you're suffering, without hating it and feeling miserable, right? That's the whole key here. All right. But again, kudos. Glad to have you joining in, Will. We have Sean joining in. What are good tactics to increase bench? That is a loaded question, because it depends on where you are sticking with your bench, your training experience, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I'll just cover some fundamentals. First off, master your technique. That is the biggest thing. Like, when I'm in the gym coaching people and I'm looking around and seeing guys in the gym, most of them have shitty technique, right? Not being rude or crude, or just telling it like it is. Learn how to master your technique. that is going to be the number one thing. There's so many guys are leaving, pounds off their bench press because they're just not utilizing proper technique and fully activating the muscles and maximizing their leverages, right? So a lot of gains are to be made just by improving technique alone. Once you have that in place, then you need to kind of break it down and see, okay, where are your personal weaknesses? Where are you personally struggling? I mean, maybe it's you're having trouble in the bottom range of motions, and if that's the case, there's certain exercises we can do to prioritize that bottom end strength. Maybe you're having trouble locking it out at the top, and if that's the case, there's certain exercises we can do to build out that lockout strength. But the general rule of thumb, though, I would start with improving technique, and I actually have a video covering bench press technique. It's one that I made several years back, and it actually went viral. It's got like over 1 million views about how to increase your bench press. If you just do a Google or YouTube search, Lee Hayward bench press technique, or Lee Hayward how to increase your bench press, that should pop up in the search results. That's number one. The next thing that I would focus on as well is balancing it out. So like not only improving your chest, shoulders, triceps, and pressing muscles, but you want to balance that out with improving your pulling muscles, like building a solid base. So this is why agonist and antagonist training is so helpful. Like you'll see guys who build a bigger back, and it actually helps to support and promote a bigger bench press. So getting bigger with, your rear delts, your traps, your upper back, your lats, like getting strong in those areas will really help you to build a bigger base, so that it'll help to support your bench press and aid with your overall strength and help reduce injury as well. Another big one that a lot of guys neglect, rear delts. Rear delts are one of the neglected areas, and it can have a big impact in improving your bench press strength. So prioritizing that. What else? I mean, we could go on and on. Another exercise that I personally found really good for increasing my bench press, getting good at dumbbell bench press. Like this, I always found there was a carryover. If my dumbbell bench press went up, my barbell bench press went up. So getting good at that. Now with dumbbell bench press, that's more of a repetition exercise. Like I would never recommend anybody doing a 1 rep max dumbbell bench press, because the risk of injury is too great, because you have to balance and stabilize 2 weights instead of 1. And it's so awkward to get in position with dumbbells versus simply on racking a barbell. So this one that you want to do for higher repetitions, like 5 to 10 reps or even more. Like I would never do less than 5 reps. That would be like the ultimate heavy set for a dumbbell bench press. That would be pushing the limits in my opinion. But, shoot for, say, in the range of that 10 rep range. That's usually what I would shoot for. And I always found that as my dumbbell bench went up, I would see a carryover into my barbell bench as well. All right. So those are some tactics and strategies I've used over the years, but I mean, there's so much more. Like we could literally do a whole workshop just on that alone, but that's enough to get you moving in the right direction. Right? What are your thoughts on Shilajit? I don't have any thoughts on Shilajit. I would have to Google search it because I'm not sure what it is. I'm not. Is that like mushrooms or something, or am I totally off base here? I have no idea, but I'm going to move on. But what are my thoughts on them? I have no thoughts on them. Right. So I'll look it up and get back to you on that one, Brian. What else we got? Sean's got another question. He says, I'm educated and know creatine is good. Have taken it for years, but my doctor almost laughed at me for taking it and said it messes things up in your body. Your thoughts? I would question your doctor's knowledge about creatine on this and how much research he has done. Because I'm going to tell you something. Your doctor didn't learn about creatine in medical school, right? Like back again, I don't know your doctor personally, and so I can't really make assumptions like that. I shouldn't, but I know my doctor. All right, I'll do that. When my doctor was going to medical school, creatine wasn't even a supplement, right? Like it wasn't even on the market back then. So there's no way in hell he had any formal education on creatine because it wasn't even marketed. So a lot of times doctors kind of, they get stuck in the old school mindset. And when you hear new things and new research coming out, until it becomes mainstream, and creatine information, I mean, I think it's mainstream, but then again, I'm in the fitness industry. So what we consider mainstream is still not mainstream to the average person, right? Like there's still, still a lot of gray area out there. The bodybuilding niche is kind of unique in that, like what we consider to be common knowledge and just regular, hey, everybody knows this. When you actually get out in the real world, no, not everybody knows this. So again, I'm not trying to be negative or critical, but there's been a lot of research done on creatine. Like it's literally the most researched supplement out there. If you start looking up studies, there have been thousands of studies done on creatine. And most of them are coming back with positive reviews all around, and not just as a supplement to aid with muscle building and athletic performance, but with overall health and wellness. Like it helps with improving your mental health and cognitive function. It improves bone density. I mean, it's been shown to help in so many areas. And the thing is they've done studies on this using relatively high dosages as well, and like no negative side effects. The only side effect that some people do get is sometimes there might be some stomach upset or some bloating, especially as your body's adapting to it. But if you start off small and build up to it, and then let your body adapt to it in small increments, then that can usually minimize the stomach distress and the bloating. And a lot of times that bloating, which was kind of like the major side effect that anybody would experience, came from doing the loading phase. If any of you have been familiar with creatine and read up about creatine, it was always recommended, for the first week, you got a boatload creatine in your system. So instead of just letting it accumulate gradually, it's like you go from 0 to hero, right? You take like 30 grams of creatine a day for the first week. And so you go from 0 to 30 grams. Like that's way overkill. How about we just start with 5 grams and let it build up? So you just start with 5 grams a day and take that consistently. Then that allows your body to adapt to it and minimizes bloating and stomach irritation and all that kind of stuff. And your body can adapt. And then you're still going to top up your creatine store so that you reap the benefits that creatine has to offer. Right. So it is a very safe and well-researched product or supplement, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you could question your doctor and just ask him, hey, like what's your education and background? Like how much study and research have you done into creatine? Have you read the recent studies that are been published about it? If you really want to go into and have a debate with your doctor, or you can just take it with a grain of salt and say, okay, let's agree to disagree and move on. Personally, that's what I would do, because I wouldn't even waste my time with it, right? I would just say, let's agree to disagree and move on, right? But, it's up to you. How deep do you want to go? Like, I know some people love to debate and win arguments and stuff like that. So, if that's you, then go for it. Personally, it's not worth my time. I wouldn't even, I would just, if someone came to me and said something like that, I would just say, all right, fair enough. Let's agree to disagree and move on. We have Happy Hassan joining us. Good evening. Glad to have you joining in. Welcome to the video chat. Best movie, Arnold, me, Sly. Okay. Best movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, me, Sly. Are you asking me what my favorite Arnold movie is? I have no idea. Like, I got to be honest. I don't think Arnold's a very good actor, right? Like, especially like I like the Terminator movies and those type of movies because like he played a role that really suited him and his character. But some of these newer movies where he's actually acting and not just being a machine, like it's cheesy. It's cheddar cheese smeared on thick. You know what I mean? And I like, so I don't really think Arnold is a great actor. If I had to say my personal favorites would be probably like, you know, the old school ones, like the Terminator movies and stuff like that. I mean, he did a good job in those. I mean, like anybody who grew up in the, you know, the 80s and the 90s with the action movie stuff. I mean, how can you not be inspired by those type of movies? But the modern ones where they're actually acting and trying to portray characters, like, I don't know, it's just cheddar cheese, extra thick. What else we got there? Sean's got another question. What are your thoughts on red meat? I know you're going to say well-balanced diet, meat, poultry, veggies, etc. But do you think red meat is great for the human body? Yeah, I eat red meat. In fact, I'm going to have a steak on the barbecue tonight for supper. That's that is on the menu. So I do eat red meat. I mean, you already said you know what I'm going to say. I mean, it's true. I do eat a well-balanced diet. It's not like I eat only red meat. I mean, I will eat chicken and fish and eggs and dairy and protein supplements and yada yada yada, as well as different types of red meat. I mean, I'm not privy to one or the other, but I will say this: red meat is a very nutrient dense food source. I mean, obviously it's high in protein and amino acids and all that. But the nice thing about red meat is it's a great source of iron. And I know for a lot of athletes, this is helpful, right? Because if especially for people who are very active, sometimes, they might develop iron deficiencies. And I know when I was younger, I developed an iron deficiency. And one of the ways that I corrected it was by eating more red meat. So that's a great food source. I mean, it's loaded with B vitamins, loaded with iron, loaded with protein and amino acids. I mean, it is a healthy food. I think it is a great food for the human body. But again, it needs to be in balance and proportion, right? I enjoy it, but would I go carnivore and eat nothing but meat? No, that's the other extreme, right? Like, it's just like saying, hey, vegetables are good for you. Oh, well, does that mean I want to eat nothing but vegetables for the rest of my life? No, I want to have a well-balanced diet. Like, that's one thing that irks me in the whole nutrition world. We have people who are like all or nothing, like vegans versus carnivores, and both of them are convinced they're right, and both of them are convinced if you do the other, you're going to die. So the carnivores are convinced if you eat a vegetable, you're going to die, and the vegans are convinced if you eat a piece of meat, you're going to die. And both of them are full of shit, all right? Because you want a well-balanced diet. Like, people wouldn't have survived if we couldn't digest both meat and vegetables, right? So trying to say like one is better than the other or whatever, one's good, one's bad, it's foolishness. Like, you need both, right? You need that well-balanced nutrition. What else we got there, guys? I'm going to get ready to clue this up shortly because, again, as I mentioned earlier, it is my birthday, and we do have a birthday supper coming up. What else we got there? Any other questions? David saying happy birthday. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, David. Much appreciated. I know David's a regular in our Muscle After 40 program. He's made an amazing transformation over the last year. Thank you. Much appreciated. What other questions here? I just want to jump in. Louise got one saying happy birthday. Much appreciated. Thank you. What is the best substitute for skull crushers? I'm using them in my workout, but they're killing my elbows. I do 3 sets of them and 3 sets of tricep pushdowns. And you can do other tricep exercise variations, and I totally get what you're saying there. Like skull crushers, which are basically like a lying tricep extension. Most people use them with like an easy curl bar. That can be hard on the elbows. I found it, like, sometimes if my elbows are acting up, I find that position, that movement really causes pain. One variation that you may try is to do a decline bench skull crusher. So instead of doing it on a flat bench, if you can do it on a decline bench where you're angled down, and what happens is when you're in that decline position, you actually get a deeper stretch in the bottom. So when you're on a flat bench, you have to stop when your elbow is at 90 degrees. And that 90-degree position places a lot of stress on the elbow. Whereas if you're in a decline, you can actually extend your arm back further and stretch out the long head of the tricep and take some of the stress off the elbow joint. So that's a variation that I did. And I have a video showing that. I mean, see if I can find it there. Decline bench tricep extensions, I probably call this. Let me see. See if I can find it there, and I'll share that video with you. It's an old one that's, over a decade. Yep, this is the one. It's called, if you do a search for Lee Hayward decline bench tricep extensions, I'm going to share the link there in their video chat. Decline bench tricep extension. So this is basically a skull crusher variation, and I want you to check that one out. Try it out. See how that works for you. That may allow you to work around the elbow pain and to hit those triceps with a deeper range of motion, actually get more muscle stimulation and less joint pain. So that's something you can certainly try. If that doesn't work, then you can try other exercises instead. And I would probably recommend cable exercises. Cables are more forgiving on the joints than free weights. I don't know. There's like a certain springiness to cable exercises. Like when you do a tricep push down, it doesn't feel as hard as doing a similar exercise with free weights. Another one you could try, instead of, like, you're already doing the push down from probably the high pulley, you could probably set up a low pulley and do an overhead tricep extension. You know, grab a rope and do an overhead tricep extension from the low pulley. And that will kind of simulate the skull crusher, meaning you're hitting the tricep in a fully stretched position, but it probably won't aggravate the elbow joint as much. Because again, there's just something about it. I'm sure if you try it yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. But cable exercises and a lot of times machine exercises in general are not as hard on the joints as free weight variations. So sometimes if you are working around joint pain and injury, machines and cables are kind of therapeutic in that way. It allows you to still work the muscle without aggravating the joints. So that's what I would recommend in those situations. What else we got there? They say creatine isn't good for hair. It causes hair loss. I'm calling BS on that one. And quite honestly, a lot of people say, oh, this causes hair loss, that causes hair loss. Creatine causes hair loss. High testosterone and hormone replacement therapy causes hair loss or whatever. I know a lot of guys who've been taking creatine for years and still have a full head of hair, right? I mean, I'm probably not as full as it once was, but hey, I've been taking creatine since 1995. So what's that, guys? Do the math, right? A long time, right? I've been taking creatine for a long time, and I still have hair on my head. In fact, if I don't shave it down, I get a big old bush, right? I get an afro. So I like to get the buzz cut clippers. So my hair is short by choice, not short because I'm losing it. But I mean, so I can't say that it's really caused me to lose hair. I mean, I still have hair on my head, and I've been taking creatine for decades. I think when it comes to hair loss, it's a genetic thing, because I want you to look at people you know personally who have lost their hair, like friends, family, neighbors, relatives, whatever. Look at the bald people you know in your life. Did they lose their hair because they took too much creatine? Or did they never even supplement with creatine in their life and they lost their hair because of whatever, genetics? Like, like people always throw this, oh, it's PEDs cause hair loss, creatine cause hair loss, this causes hair loss. Why is it that most guys who lose their hair have never taken any of that stuff, right? Like, I know my neighbor, he lives across the street, right? Hasn't got a hair on his head, like just like a bowling ball, right? He doesn't work out, he doesn't take supplements, he doesn't, like, none of this stuff, right? And he's lost his hair. Like, I know a lot of my relatives. I have like uncles and people that I know personally haven't got a hair on their head, and they started losing their hair in their 20s. They weren't taking creatine or any of that stuff. So, I think it's mostly a genetic factor. I mean, if somebody is genetically predisposed to losing their hair, maybe if they take creatine or something like that, it could potentially speed up the hair loss, but it's just going to speed up the inevitable anyway, right? If someone's going to lose it, they're going to lose it. Whereas other people, I mean, they die with a full head of hair, right? They could be in their 80s and still have a full head of hair. I know my grandfather was like that. I mean, he lived to be, he was just shy of 80 years old, but I mean, when he died, he still had a full head of hair, right? So hopefully I'm the same way. But I call him BS on that. I think it's mostly genetics that's going to cause someone to lose hair. Let's see what else we got. Creatine must take by someone already have muscles. No, anybody can take creatine. Even senior citizens who are not exercising can take creatine. This is where the new research with creatine is going, in showing how it can actually improve mental and cognitive and health benefits in seniors and people with mental degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and things like that. You do not have to work out or have muscles. I mean, well, technically everybody has muscles. If you're alive, you have muscles, but you don't have to be a bodybuilder to take creatine. Like, your grandmother could take creatine and reap the benefits of it. Like, anybody can take it. And then it's being shown now as more of a health supplement than even a performance enhancing supplement. All right. What else we got there? Will saying, I just found the video you recommended. The title is How to Bench Press More Weight with Proper Technique, Total Body Fitness. All right, appreciate it. It's actually Total Fitness Bodybuilding, but I know what you mean. Thanks for sharing that, Will. Lee, you're the man. Thanks. Appreciate it. You talk about creatine. What is glutamine? Can we take both? Glutamine is a non-essential amino acid. You can certainly take both. What about glutamine? I mean, if you can go on Google and search and what is glutamine, and that'll give you the answer if you want. But yes, you can certainly take creatine and glutamine. There's no harmful. I mean, it's not like a negative synergistic effect. If anything, it'll be a positive synergistic effect. But I mean, rather than wasting more time, if you want to learn about glutamine, just ask Google, right? Type it in. There's gazillions of articles about glutamine and creatine and all that stuff. Happy birthday, Lee. How does it feel turning 50? I'm almost there. I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40, but I'm not quite the big 50 yet, but I'm getting there. I feel older today than I ever have ever. And I think we can all say the same. We are all older today than we've ever been in our entire lives. David's saying he likes doing skull crushers with dumbbells. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And that's another variation. You can certainly try dumbbells instead of the easy curl bar. Most people use the easy curl bar because just that slight angle takes some of the tension off the wrists and places your hands in a more comfortable position. But try it with dumbbells as well. I mean, hey, it might feel more comfortable on the elbows, might feel more comfortable on the wrists. Give that a shot as well. You could also do a hybrid of dumbbell decline skull crushers, right? The dumbbell decline tricep extension that I shared that video of the decline bench tricep extension with the easy curl bar. You could do the same thing with dumbbells and probably even get that may allow you to work around the elbow pain that you're experiencing. All right, what else we got there? And David's saying there's new research on creatine and aging, and it's amazing. Absolutely, there is. I mean, there's still research. I mean, despite all the gazillion of studies that have already been done on it, they're still doing a lot more because they're realizing the potential for it. And another thing I've noticed too, seeing around the topic of creatine, like creatine went through phases where, I mean, when it first hit the market, it was ridiculously expensive. Then as it started to become mainstream, the prices went down. And then post coronavirus pandemic, the prices kind of skyrocketed again. But I've seen, at least in my own creatine purchases of late, the prices are starting to come back down to more reasonable amounts again. But I know a lot of people look at creatine and say, oh, it's so expensive. It's so expensive. When it first hit the market, it was legitimately expensive. I remember back in 1995, the first bottle of creatine that I ever got, it was 100 grams container. I mean, 100 grams is nothing. Like most creatine that you buy now, it's 1,000 grams or more in some cases. Like I think the one that I have in the cupboard that I bought is a 2 kilo container of creatine, so 2,000 grams, which lasts. I mean, that's going to last months, right? I mean, because you take 5 grams a day, right? So I mean, that's been sitting in the shelf there for a long time, and there's still a lot left. But bottom line, I remember the first time I ever used creatine, and the first container I bought, it was this tiny little 100-gram container, and it was $100 back in 1995. So not even factoring in the cost of inflation and all that stuff. But it was $100, $1 a gram for creatine back in 1995. And that's what I paid to start using creatine. So to think that nowadays you can get 1,000 grams for like $40 ish or $50, whatever it is, depending on the brand and where you buy it from. I mean, it's one of the most cost efficient supplements out there, because you're only using like 5 grams a day. So it's like literally pennies a day to supplement with creatine. And then when you factor in all the health benefits that it has, like, who wouldn't use it? Like, why not? I mean, I recommend it. I mean, I use it myself. I recommend it to all my coaching students. I mean, it's a great supplement. I mean, it has a lot of health benefits. What else we got there? All right, David's got a question there saying, what about peptides? There's one really good one for gut health and overall increase in healing, BPC 157. Any advice? I don't have any personal experience with that, and that's something I would need to look into. So I can certainly do so, but I have no advice, or that's outside my realm right now. I've never dove into that myself. So, but I will look into it, or at least if I can't find the answers for you, I'll try and find someone who can and link up with you about that. All right. How important is it to lift heavy? Is Planet Fitness good enough? That's a good question. And quite honestly, for the average person who's trying to get in shape, lose the gut, get in shape, there's nothing wrong with Planet Fitness. I know it gets a bad rap in the fitness world, but you can get in a damn good workout at Planet Fitness. I mean, sure, they don't have free weight barbells, but other than that, they have virtually everything else. I mean, they have well-equipped machines. Like, I've only ever been in one Planet Fitness in my entire life, and it was a darn good one. I was actually very impressed. It was when I was on vacation in Florida a few years back. I went to Planet Fitness in Tampa, and it was like walking into this massive warehouse. The place was huge, and they had oodles of cardio, oodles of machines, all hammer strength machines. So it was really high quality stuff. I mean, I was actually impressed. I mean, several Smith machines, lots of dumbbells. Now, granted, the dumbbells, I think, only went up to 75 pounds or somewhere like that. But for the average person, like, that's plenty. Like, you can get in a darn good workout there with what they have available. Unless you're a competitive power lifter or a weightlifter, or, someone who needs to lift barbells, there's nothing stopping you from getting in a darn good workout. Like, I got in a darn good workout that day at Planet Fitness when I worked out there. So, for the average person, it's good enough. Right now, you got to look at your goals. I mean, if you're trying to be a power lifter, then no, it ain't good enough. You need a barbell gym if that's your goal. But for someone who's just trying to get in shape, lose the gut, exercise consistently, and I mean, it's great from that point of view. And for the price, I mean, you can't beat it, right? I mean, I don't know what the price is, but it is, a cheap gym membership by far. So, I have nothing against the whole Planet Fitness thing. I can certainly, if I was limited to Planet Fitness, I could still get in a darn good workout, and I don't think it would have any negative impacts in the bigger scheme of things. Not at the stage I'm at now. I mean, back in the day when I was powerlifting and pushing myself heavier and doing, the barbell lifts, especially when I was, focusing on increasing the squat, bench, and deadlift and stuff like that. I mean, of course, you're not going to do that at Planet Fitness, but for a general workout, you could certainly get it done. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to get ready and clue this up. Again, thanks again for tuning in. It's been awesome to connect. I always enjoy our Friday video chats to touch base and, connect. So if you do have any questions or feedback about what was covered, or maybe I didn't get around to answering your question, because I know there's some questions coming through here that I didn't get a chance to answer. If you would like to reach out to me personally, you feel free to do so. I have my contact information down in the description below this video. And if you would like some help with a personalized fitness and nutrition program to hit your goals, reach out to me, right? We can schedule in for a consultation call, discuss your situation, your goals, what it is you're trying to achieve, and see if we can map out a realistic action plan to help you with achieving that. All right, guys, I'm going to clue it up and have yourself a fantastic weekend. And I look forward to talking to you next Friday, same time, same place. Take care. Over and out.